So, a while ago, I talked about how PTSD is often advertised as something that veterans have because of wartime. And I know it's very easy to think of it that way, but it's deeper than that. Now, yeah, I'm a veteran. I have family members who are veterans. I have family members who are combat veterans. My grandfather was a prisoner of war, right? Um, and when me and like some of my friends even are veterans, I still have friends who are actively serving, right? When people say thank you for your service, it's kind of triggering in and of itself because it's kind of like teaching people social cues and manners, right? If somebody sneezes, you say bless you. If someone says thank you, you say you're welcome. But veterans are very individualistic because they are people, they're individuals. But at the same time, we all have very common ways of thinking, and our commonalities are not just from the fact that we've served, but it can come from a multitude of things, like what our service numbers are, our MOSs, or what um, base we were stationed at, or anything like that. Let's just start out with how most veterans end up in the service, right? The majority of the military is enlisted. So you have enlisted warrant officer and officer ranks, right? These are like the different tiers or whatever. And then, I'm gonna just go with the majority because I could go forever with this stuff, right? When you're talking about the enlisted specifically, and I'm talking strictly from what I experienced, a lot of times these are people who are like fresh out of high school, right? And the number one thing about people who are fresh out of high school is the recruiter tells you, oh, we'll pay for your school, you know. Or some of them, they will pitch to you, oh, you want to move out of your mom's house? And they know they're talking to kids. They're marketing to kids. They're marketing to um, purely undeveloped minds, people who are becoming adults. They haven't figured out anything, right? You go and fast forward, you go into boot camp, right? And I'm really just chopping this down as much as I can. And boot camp is a different world. Obviously, you got all these people, a lot of them around your age, a lot of them are homesick, a lot of them for the first time they've been away from their parents, they don't know how to handle it. That trauma in and of itself, that's already an open wound that started. And then from that, you have, after boot camp, you have like your additional training or whatever specialty training. I'm skipping past the hazing. I'm skipping past, the vigorous workouts. I'm skipping past, I don't want to call it brainwashing, but the doctrine of whatever branch you're in, For example, being in the Air Force, right? With a cushy, easy branch, that's what it's marketed as. And every time I talk to my other family members who were in other branches, I tend to piss them off when I talk about the Air Force, right? And I try not to be arrogant. It's very easy for Air Force people to take shots at other branches. But coming from like majority of my family, Army, a little bit of Navy, Marine here and there. And now that I think about it, both my grandfathers were Army Air Corps, but I think I'm first generation Air Force. But anyway, um, how did I get over there? I got over there. But anyway, this is my deal. Yes, when I was in the Air Force. So then go into additional training, right? My additional training was in Keesler. It's in Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, right? And we were training with the Marines. And when the Air Force, we march in our little formation, then we fall out. We have our little chant before we fall out, aim high, fly, fight, win, all that good stuff. But with the Marine Corps, they fall out of formation and they go kill. And that's what they scream before they fall out, right? That's traumatic. Okay, a lot of people in the Marines, Army, Navy, they be like, Air Force, of course. Somebody screaming the word kill scares you. But it does. I'm sensitive. That's why I joined the Air Force. I am so sensitive. I already knew I wasn't tough. I got plenty of tough people in my family. And I've seen them, that you can have that life of running through walls and eating rocks. I will not. I already know what I can handle. I can't handle that. My mother sent me to an art school for a reason. I'm an artist, not an athlete, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, that's traumatic. And on the flip side, for the people who were serving in the Marine Corps, who saw how cushy Air Force people's lives were, I could imagine that was agitating for them. Well, yeah, I know, because they say it to my face, right? In fact, they don't call us Air Force. They call us Chair Force, right? Which is cool. I used to argue back with them until one of them jumped up in my face, and I was like, oh, like I knew I couldn't handle that. So I've decided to take the humble route. You know what I mean? I try not to take shots or diminish anything, but that's a whole other story. Fast forward. You get to your first duty stations, and then this is the real kicker with veterans. A lot of times we leave home thinking that we're fixing things back home, only to figure out, if some of us got our right minds when we come out, that whatever we left has never stopped being what it was. That's a lot to process. That's really a lot to process. This is what I mean. And, I've had a lot of friends who joined the military and they say, I didn't want to put the financial pressure on my family back home. Usually my mom would pay for school. That's usually the story. A lot of times recruiters jump all over that because they know you're graduating high school and you may not know what you want to do. They jump all over that. That's an easy talking point, right? And then you fast forward. That kid goes, okay, I went to the military to go to school, and then go to school starts turning into, I got to send money back home, and sending money back home starts to turn into, I got to keep sending money home, and then keep sending money home starts to turn into, I gotta move somebody in. Or these are kids who are making money that they don't even understand the value of. And a lot of times with their childish thinking, they think they can fix it. They think they can work their way or pay their way or write checks to their way of fixing the problem, right? And I haven't even started with the other layers of being a veteran. But let's just keep fast forwarding. There comes this fork in the road for a lot of veterans where, first of all, you realize early on if you want to do this or not. A lot of times you think you can handle this. A lot of times you think you want to do this, only to find out later, this is not for you. A lot of people end up getting out because it's not for them. But here's the dilemma. If you get out of this that you hate, but you know so well, where are you going to go? Like when you go back home, it's like this weird, I want to use the word paradox, but I don't think I'm using it correctly. It's like this weird thing where it's like, on one end you went in to help people, but then when you stay in, you realize it's not where you want to be. And then if you get out, what next? Because one thing about the military, They are not interested in your education. And I'm not trying to be nasty, but they're not interested in your life after them. All they're interested is the mission, and that is it. And I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people, young people, going into the service with the wrong mentality, thinking that they saving somebody when they really need to save themselves. And that again is a major kicker for a lot of people who join the service. These 17, 18, and 19-year-olds, they have no clue what they're signing up for, and a lot of them are not being prepared at all. And when they get out, because you're going to get out whether you're discharged, whether you're pushed out, whether you die, you're going to get out, whether you're separated. And if you don't have anything and you don't know anything else, that in and of itself is traumatic. Not the jarhead, not the machine guns, not the trenches, not the barbed wire, not the deployments, not the temper. That in and of itself, without all of the strain. Because a lot of times veterans get discount, their traumas get discounted because they're not combat veterans or because they haven't lost a limb. But anybody who has served, and some veterans get mad at me when I say this, one day of boot camp, it's life altering. It's not as traumatic as someone who's had to, go out in the trenches, but it's still PTSD to some degree.